I threw my grandmother a retirement party last spring, and by the time I left that night, I had changed the locks on her house. My brother's wife was still inside when I did it. Let me back up. My grandmother, I've called her Nana my whole life, turned 72 in March. She spent 41 years as a school librarian in a small town outside of Columbus, Ohio. She never made much money. Librarians don't. But she was careful, disciplined, the kind of woman who brought her lunch to work every single day in the same plaid thermos bag and put $20 a week into a savings account starting in 1987. When my grandfather passed 8 years ago, she sold the house they'd shared and moved into a smaller place on Clover Mill Road. A ranch house, 1 story, wide doorways, a backyard big enough for her tomato garden. She had picked it herself because of the walk-in shower and the 0 steps at the front entrance. She told me once, very matter-of-factly, that she didn't want to become a burden. That was the word she used. Burden. I am 29 years old. I work as a paralegal at a mid-sized firm, Columbus, which means I spend my days reading contracts and understanding, more than most people my age, exactly how property law works in the state of Ohio. I mention this because it matters later. I helped Nana buy that house. Not financially. She had enough from the sale of the old place and a modest pension, but I researched the neighborhood. I went to the closing with her. I drove her to the home inspection and sat in the kitchen taking notes while the inspector talked. It was the least I could do. She had driven me to every violin lesson, every school play rehearsal, every early morning SAT prep class when my parents couldn't, which was often. My parents were not bad people. They were just overwhelmed. My dad drove long haul and was gone most of the week. My mother worked retail management and picked up every holiday shift she could get. My brother Corey and I were raised largely in the warm, book-smelling orbit of my grandmother. She taught me how to parallel park. She taught me how to read a lease. She was the one sitting in the front row at my college graduation, crying before I even walked across the stage. So when she called me 2 Saturdays ago and asked if I could come by because she wanted to show me something in the garden, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my keys. I even stopped at the bakery on 5th and picked up a box of those lemon bars she loves, so I was in a good mood. It was a beautiful afternoon. I should have known something was wrong the moment I turned onto Clover Mill Road and saw the moving truck. It wasn't a big truck. It was one of those mid-size rentals, the orange kind, backed up to the front of Nana's driveway with its rear door open. 2 men were carrying a sectional sofa up the front walk. I had never seen that sofa before in my life. I sat in my car for a moment with the engine running. Then I turned it off, picked up the lemon bars, and went inside. The smell hit me first. Nana's house always smelled like cedar and old paperbacks, and whatever she had simmering on the stove. That afternoon, it smelled like moving boxes and something aggressively floral, an air freshener maybe? The kind that comes in a plug-in and costs $3 and tries to smell like a spa. The living room, where Nana kept her reading chair, and the floor lamp with the adjustable neck and the small bookshelf she called her current rotation was rearranged. The chair had been pushed into the corner near the coat closet, turned slightly sideways as if it had been moved in a hurry and no one had bothered to straighten it. The bookshelf was gone entirely. In the center of the room, where Nana's oval braided rug used to be, there was now a large glass and chrome coffee table I had definitely never seen before. I stood there, holding the lemon bars, and I heard my brother's voice from down the hall. "Just put the boxes in the second bedroom for now," he was saying. "We'll sort them later." I found him in the kitchen doorway. He saw me and his expression did something complicated. Relief and discomfort tangled up together. "Hey," he said. "I didn't know you were coming," I said. I looked past him into the kitchen. There were cardboard boxes on the counter. "Corey, what is going on?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "He does that when he's nervous. He's done it since we were kids." "We're just helping out," he said. "Nana's place has so much extra space, and with the baby coming..." "Where is Nana?" He hesitated. "She's in the back." I walked past him through the kitchen and out the sliding glass door to the backyard. Nana was sitting on the small concrete patio on a folding chair. Not her usual outdoor chair, the cushioned one with the retractable sunshade that I'd bought her 2 birthdays ago. That chair was nowhere in sight. She was sitting on a folding chair, the metal kind, with a thin layer of rust on the legs, and she was holding a glass of iced tea and looking at her tomato plants with an expression I had never seen on her face before. It took me a moment to identify it because it looked so wrong there. She looked like a visitor. "Nana," I said. She looked up and her whole face changed. For just a second, she looked the way she always looked when I arrived. Warm, lit up, like I was something good. And then the warmth got complicated, the way it does when someone is trying to shield you from something. "You brought lemon bars," she said, reaching for the box. "Nana, what is happening inside?" She set the box on her lap and folded her hands over it. She was quiet for a moment. A cardinal landed on the tomato cage and then left again. "Corey and his wife needed some extra room," she said carefully. "With the new baby, their apartment was getting cramped. I told them they could stay here for a little while." "How long is a little while?" She didn't answer right away. "Whose sofa is that in the living room?" "That's hers," Nana said. "She said mine was too small. She said it wasn't good for her back." "Where is your sofa?" Nana looked at the tomato plants. "They put it in the garage." I thought about my grandmother's sofa. It was a love seat, technically, pale blue, the kind of worn soft fabric that takes 30 years to get that comfortable. She had recovered it herself twice. She had a photo of my grandfather sitting on that sofa the Christmas before he died, laughing at something off camera, and she kept that photo in a small silver frame on the end table beside it. I looked back through the sliding glass door. The end table was gone too. "Nana," I said, keeping my voice even. "Where do you sleep?" She took a sip of her iced tea. "I'm in the second bedroom now. It's perfectly fine. It has good light in the mornings." The second bedroom was an 8 by 10 room that Nana used as a craft room. It had a daybed in it, the kind that doubles as a couch, with a thin mattress. Nana had a bad hip. She had a doctor-recommend pillow-top mattress in the master bedroom and a grab bar in the master bath that I had installed myself with a borrowed drill on a Saturday afternoon 2 years ago. She said the master was better for the baby because of the bathroom, Nana added before I could ask. "The tub is bigger. For when the baby needs baths, the baby isn't born yet," I said. "Due in 8 weeks, Nana said. She said it quietly, like a fact she was still adjusting to. I heard the sliding door open behind me. I turned around. My brother's wife, Heather, stepped out onto the patio. She was in maternity leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, and she had the specific energy of someone who has decided in advance to be the reasonable one in a conversation. She smiled at me. It was the kind of smile that has a disclaimer attached. "Oh, you're here," she said. "Great. I actually wanted to talk to you." "Heather," I said. "Hi. I know this deeply looks like a lot," she said, gesturing vaguely toward the inside of the house. "But we're really just trying to make things work for everyone. Your grandmother has all this space, and we have a baby coming, and it just made sense. We're going to pay for groceries. We're going to help with the utilities. It's a win-win." Nana was looking at her iced tea. "Whose idea was it for Nana to move into the craft room?" I asked. Heather's smile adjusted slightly. "It was a group decision. The master has the accessibility features we really need right now. The grab bar, the wide doorway. Pregnancy is really physical. People don't talk about that enough." I looked at her. I had installed that grab bar for my grandmother who had a bad hip, my grandmother who was 72 years old. "Where is Nana's reading chair?" I said. "We moved it to give the living room more of an open feel." "It's in the closet. It's in the coat closet, temporarily." I became very still. I have a thing that happens when I get extremely angry. I don't get loud. I get very, very quiet, and I start thinking in straight lines. My coworkers have noticed it. My friends have learned to recognize it. It is not a comfortable thing to be on the other side of. "I need to make a phone call," I said pleasantly. "I'll be right back." I went back inside and walked through the living room, stepping around one of the moving boxes and out the front door. I sat on the front step and I called my grandmother's real estate attorney, a woman named Pat who handled the original closing and who I had met 3 times in person. It went to voicemail. I left a message that was calm and specific. Then I called my own supervisor, a man who has been practicing property law in Ohio for 26 years and who genuinely enjoys being called on weekends because, as he says, the law doesn't take Saturdays off. He answered on the third ring. Quick question, I said. Homeowner 72 owns her home outright. Family members move in without a written lease or rental agreement. How long before they have any tenant rights in Ohio? He didn't even pause. 30 days. Under 30, they're guests. No lease, no tenancy. She can ask them to leave. If they refuse, it's trespassing. And if they've already moved furniture in, changed the sleeping arrangements, doesn't change the legal status. 30 days is 30 days. How long have they been there? I did the math. Corey had mentioned a few weeks to me in passing, a month ago, and I had not understood then what that meant. I think around 10 to 12 days, I said. Then she's still well within the window. She asks them to leave, they leave. If they don't, you call non-emergency police and they walk them out. Thank you, I said. Do you want me to draft a formal notice? Not yet, I said. Give me an hour. I hung up and sat on the step for another minute. The moving men had finished with the sofa. They were loading the empty truck now. I watched them pull away. Then I stood up, dusted off my jeans, picked up the lemon bars from where I had set them on the railing, and went back inside. I went to the coat closet first. I had to move a box of Heather's maternity clothes to get to it, but there it was. Nana's reading chair folded sideways into the closet with the adjustable lamp still attached and slightly bent. I pulled it out. I dragged it back to the living room, to the spot by the window where it had been for the last 3 years, and I set it there. Then I went to find Heather. She was in the master bedroom. The door was open. She was arranging things on the dresser. My grandmother's dresser, the one with the oval mirror and the brass drawer pulls that had been in our family since before I was born. She had cleared the top of it. The small photographs my grandmother kept there, her and my grandfather at the Grand Canyon, Corey and me on the first day of school, a wallet-sized photo of my mother when she was in high school, were stacked in a pile on the bed. I stopped in the doorway. Heather, I said, how long are you planning to stay? She turned around. We haven't put a hard date on it. We want to see how the baby adjusts. It could be 6 months, could be a year. Honestly, this was so much better for everyone. Your grandmother doesn't have to worry about the bills. We get the space we need. Once we're settled, we're actually thinking about whether it might make sense for us to just take over the house officially, like a formal arrangement. Corey thinks your grandmother might want to move into a senior community eventually anyway, and if we're already established here, take over the house, I repeated. It would still be family property, she said. Waving a hand like this was obvious. We'd work out the details. It's not like we'd leave her with nothing. I thought about my grandmother sitting on a rusted folding chair in her own backyard, looking at her tomato plants like a visitor. Heather, I said, I want to make sure I understand what you're describing. You're saying that you'd like to eventually become the permanent occupants of this house, which would involve my grandmother leaving. She tilted her head. When she's ready. We'd support her in finding something appropriate, and in the meantime, she sleeps in the craft room, the second bedroom, on a daybed with a 2-inch mattress. Heather's expression shifted. The reasonableness evaporated. Look, I don't know why you're making this into a whole thing. We're doing her a favor. Do you have any idea what childcare costs in this city? Do you have any idea what we're dealing with right now? We're trying to build a life. Your grandmother has a paid-off house and she's living in it alone. It's not like she needs all this space. That word, needs. As if what my grandmother needed was something to be determined by someone else. As if 72 years of showing up for every single person in this family, driving kids to lessons and sitting in the front row of graduations and working 41 years to earn a retirement, had simply expired. She needs the grab bar in the master bath, I said. The one I put in for her hip. She needs her bed, because her orthopedist recommended a specific mattress firmness. She needs her reading chair by the window. She needs not to be moved into the smallest room in her own house so someone else can use the bathroom she planned her retirement around. Heather opened her mouth. "I'd like you to get Corey," I said. She looked at me for a moment. Then she turned and went down the hall. I went back out to the patio where Nana was still sitting. I crouched down in front of her. She was holding the lemon bar box now, unopened. "Did you agree to any of this?" I asked. "Did you say yes?" She looked at me and something cracked open a little in her expression. "I didn't want to be difficult," she said. "Corey said they really needed the space. And there's a baby coming." I thought, "Nana, did anyone ask you? Directly?" She was quiet. "Did anyone sit down with you and say, 'We'd like to move in. Is that okay with you? And this is how it would work?'" She looked at the lemon bars. "Heather said it made more sense this way. She said it would reduce my stress." I took her hand. Her hands are small and dry and always slightly cool. I have held her hand at a funeral and at a graduation and once in a hospital waiting room. I know exactly how they feel. "Nana," I said, "you own this house. It is yours. No one has the right to rearrange your furniture or put you in a different bedroom without your permission. Do you understand that?" She nodded, very small. "Do you want them to stay?" She looked at me for a long time, and then quietly she said, "I want my chair back." I stood up. Corey came out the sliding door first. Heather was behind him. He looked nervous. He had his hands in his pockets. He started to say my name. "I spoke to a property attorney 20 minutes ago," I said. "Not hypothetically. I called him and I asked him specific questions about Ohio landlord-tenant law. Since neither of you has a signed lease, and since you have been here fewer than 30 days, you are legally guests in this house. You have no tenant protections. You have no right to occupy the master bedroom, rearrange the furnishings, or make plans about the future of this property without the homeowner's consent." Heather laughed. It was sharp, reflexive, the kind of laugh that's really a stall for time. "You can't be serious. This is family. We're not strangers. Family doesn't move someone's grandmother into a daybed so they can use her bathtub," I said. "I put that grab bar in for her. Not for you," Corey said quietly. "Georgia." And then caught himself. I waited. He looked at Heather. He looked at Nana still sitting in her folding chair with the lemon bar box in her lap. He looked at his hands. "I just wanted to make it work," he said. "It came out small. She said we needed the space. She said this was the smart move." "Did you ever ask Nana what she wanted?" I said. He didn't answer. "Corey," Heather said, warning in her voice. "Don't. She's in a folding chair," he said. He said it almost to himself. He was still looking at Nana, and something changed in his face. It was like watching a knot come undone. He said it again, softer. "She's sitting in a folding chair in her own backyard." "Corey," Heather said again, sharper. "Where did the cushioned chair go?" he asked, looking at me. "Probably the garage," I said, "with her sofa." He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, he looked older than I had seen him look in a long time. "I'm sorry," he said. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at Nana. "I'm really sorry, Nana. I let it get here and I didn't stop it. I should have stopped it." "This is unbelievable," Heather said. Her voice had gone cold and flat. "You're both acting like I'm the villain here. I am 8 months pregnant. I am trying to prepare for a child. Everything I did for our family, for our son." "Your son doesn't live here," I said. "Your son doesn't have a lease here and neither do you." "So what? You're kicking out a pregnant woman?" She looked around, as if searching for witnesses. "You're really going to do that? Kick out your sister-in-law when she's about to give birth? That's the person you want to be?" I didn't raise my voice. I thought about my grandmother on that folding chair. I thought about the grab bar I put in specifically for her hip. I thought about the photographs stacked in a pile on the bed. "I'm going to give you 2 weeks," I said. 2 weeks to find alternative arrangements. I'll help Corey look for places this weekend if he wants. I will send a formal written notice tomorrow, by certified mail and by email, because I want there to be a record. After 14 days, if you are still in the master bedroom, I will call the non-emergency police line, and they will assist with the removal. I am not trying to make this ugly. I am trying to make it clear. "You can't do this," Heather said it. "I can," I said, "and I am." She turned on Corey. Her voice broke. "Are you going to just stand there? Say something. Tell her she's wrong." Corey looked at his wife. He looked like a man who had reached the end of a very long road and was only now reading the sign at the end of it. "I think," he said slowly, "that I should have said something a long time ago, and I didn't, and I'm sorry for that too." Heather stared at him. Then she grabbed her purse from the kitchen counter, pushed past both of us, and walked out the front door. We heard her car start. We heard it leave. Corey sat down on the back step. He pressed his hands over his face. I stood next to him and didn't say anything for a moment. Nana opened the lemon bar box. "You should eat something," she said to Corey. She held out a lemon bar. He looked up at her. His eyes were wet. He took it. The next few hours were quiet and purposeful. Corey carried Nana's sofa back in from the garage himself, both cushions and all, and set it exactly where it had been. He found the end table. He found the silver-framed photo of my grandfather and set it back in its place. He moved his own boxes out of the master bedroom and into the second bedroom without being asked. We reassembled the bookshelf. We found every displaced photograph and returned each one to its spot on the dresser. Nana stood in the doorway of the master bedroom and looked at it for a long moment after we finished. "The grab bar is still there," I said. "Good," she said. She went in and sat on the edge of her bed, the real bed, and looked around the room the way a person looks at something they thought they might have lost. That evening, after Corey had gone to his mother-in-law's to figure out what came next, Nana and I sat in the living room. Her chair was back by the window. The lamp was on. She had a novel open in her lap, a thick one with a cracked spine she'd clearly been in the middle of for weeks. "I should have said something sooner," she told me. "I kept thinking it would sort itself out." "You were trying to keep the peace," I said. "I was afraid," she said, and she said it plainly without embarrassment. "I was afraid if I pushed back, I wouldn't get to see the baby. That Heather would make it a whole thing and I'd be cut out." She smoothed the page of her book with one finger. "Isn't that silly? My own grandchild and I was scared to speak up in my own house." "It's not silly," I said. "She made it feel that way on purpose." Nana looked at the window. Outside it was getting dark, the streetlights just beginning to come on over Clover Mill Road. "I want to be there when that baby is born," she said. "I still do." "You will be," I said. "That's not Heather's call to make?" She nodded slowly. Then she looked back down at her book, found her page, and settled deeper into her chair. 2 weeks later, Corey and Heather moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Westerville. Corey texted me the address without comment. A week after that, he texted again, a photo of a crib he had assembled himself, pushed against a pale yellow wall, with a stuffed elephant sitting in the corner of it. He also started coming by Nana's house on Sunday afternoons, not to ask for anything, just to sit with her, sometimes to help with the garden, once to fix a sticky drawer in the kitchen that had been bothering her for months. He brought coffee and stayed for 2 hours and left without incident. The first time he did it, Nana called me afterward and said, simply, "He came." Like it was something she hadn't been sure of. The hospital called Nana first when the baby was born. Corey had made sure of it. She was in the delivery waiting room before I even got the text. I found her there in her good cardigan, holding a cup of vending machine coffee, her novel tucked in her purse for the wait. When the nurse came out and said she could come in, Nana stood up so fast she nearly left her book behind. I picked it up and followed her down the hall. She held that baby for a long time. I watched her face while she did it. That expression, full of something only she knew how to carry, all those years of showing up, of early mornings and quiet sacrifices and never asking for anything in return. She looked down at that small face and she looked like herself, exactly herself. On the drive home, she was quiet most of the way. Near the highway exit, she said without preamble, "I want to plant a second row of tomatoes this year. I was thinking about it all winter, but I kept putting it off." "Let's do it," I said. "You'll help?" "Every weekend in April," I said. "I'll bring the plants." She nodded, satisfied, and looked out the window at the highway lights going past. She looked like a woman who lived in her own house, in her own chair, with her own plans, which is exactly what she was, which is exactly what she had always been, which is exactly what no one, I promised myself then and mean still, would ever take from her again.